Hello, here we are. Thanks so much for the response to my first Vlogmas video. Definitely don't really know what they're supposed to be like, so I'm just doing whatever I want, keeping it fun and keeping it zero editing. So we'll see if I can maintain that because I have some ideas now. So anyway, today I thought I would like spontaneously sew this little pot holder pattern. All right, I saw this pot holder pattern and I was like, closet core. There's no way that that's easy to sew or quick because tiny little pieces. But it's pre-quilted fabric, all right? So that gave me an idea. And I downloaded the pattern. And I have little pre-quilted like fabric scraps from when I did this project that didn't work out. I am a terrible quilter. I'm just going to tell you that. I know you're going to be like, your quilting's fine. No. I know that I'm a total beginner quilter. It's a completely different skill set. It's something I work on from time to time. So I have all these like pre-quilted squares from when I was going to do a cat quilt. And I'd been collecting cat fabrics for a long time, like years, and they were all black and white cat fabrics. And everyone knows that this is one of my all-time favorite fabrics. This one right here, you can't even really see what it is. It's called Catnap, and I love this fabric. So I have a bunch of it, and I use it in everything. And I started deviating from this little black-white, like, cat theme. And, yeah, anyway. I never used those pieces, so I've been using little squares everywhere. And I thought, well, I could use it for this pot holder. I don't need a pot holder. In fact, I'm just going to shamelessly plug my pot holder design, which is amazing, because if you are someone with smaller hands or those huge, gigantic, bulky pot holders that you can't even like grab the pan, you know, it's like, great, yeah, my hand is safe, but I'm not safe because I can't grab the pan, right? I have a free pattern on my website if you're interested. I'll try and remember to link it in the description. But and it is a little bit more involved to sew it. And if you want me to sew one, I will happily sew one. Let me know. I do have videos. There's videos linked in it to how I sew it. But it stays on your hand. It's like a little like claw. And it comes in different sizes for different people. So anywho, I'm still going to sew this because binding, everyone knows my love language is binding. It's kind of bad. Like I see binding in a pattern and I'm like, well, I have to sew that. I just love to sew binding, and that's just how it is. So let's just sew some pot holder with binding. So I got the pattern piece. I've already cut out my pieces. I did a couple things differently. I'm using this, like, can you hear it? Let me put it next to it. Can you hear that? It's like this heat resistant fabric. Someone remind me in the comments what it's called because I don't remember. And I'm going to put that in there as my batting, okay? And then I'm also going to cut 2 of this little diagonal piece. And I also cut this batting in between because it only has you cut 1 of these. And I don't know about you, but I use a toaster oven, a really nice toaster oven. I can even roast a whole chicken in there or bake a pie. But if my hand touches the top of that, it's all over. So I really want some heat protection on the top. So I'm going to do this. So let's just get this ready to bind because literally it's all binding. I know you're like, oh, great, binding. But let me just, you know, sell you a little bit on binding. All right. So I've got my little sandwich here. I'm just going to tack it in a few places. Don't hold it. That way it won't shift. We'll just do it in a few places. Like that, okay? And then let's do this one too. And maybe I'll be able to find someone to gift this to. It looks a little big, so I'm not sure if I'll keep it. We'll see. Maybe someone else will like it in my life. This one's shifted a little bit. All right, so first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna bind this edge here. I'm using some pre-cut binding. And if you've ever bound anything with me, I always start binding from the back side, so the wrong side. So I'm gonna put it right side to wrong side, like this. In my opinion, this is the only way to sew binding, unless you're quilting or doing some heirloom style binding. This is the best. Sometimes I tell you to like gently pull in the binding, but in this case, I'm not going to. It might be kind of nice because it would kind of cinch it up a little bit, you know? All right, and maybe I'll trim this down a little bit since it's a little wide at this end. You don't want to trim it too low. You want this edge to like fill up the binding, you know? You don't want it to be empty inside. All right, so we'll just turn it. I also never pre-fold my binding. I know that a lot of people like to do that. And I know there's that really cool little machine that you can get now that they started remaking so that you could have your binding pre-folded. But hopefully I'm showing you that you really don't need to do that, and you have more options, and you won't have to pin as much, and you won't have to fiddle with it very much. Plus you won't have to pre-fold it. Like literally all you have to do is cut it. And then you have some binding. I mean, look at that, like, not bad, right? Right? I know I'm making it look easy. I'll give you more tips on sewing binding on my next thing. Let's make a little loop. This is where my binding attachment would be kind of handy. I'm gonna make a longer loop. They don't actually tell you how long. If they tell you how long to make it, I missed it. I didn't really read the directions, I will admit. I could just sew this right sides together and turn it in a loop. But we'll just edge stitch this down like it's binding. It's just a little loop so you can hang it up. On my one that I made, I actually took a little piece of this binding and I put a magnet inside of it, and I just stick this little tab out with a magnet in it because my toaster oven is magnetic. So that's been kind of nice because there's no hook near it, you know. You can do whatever you want when you make it yourself, right? All right, so now we have our loop. That's really big, Saremy. Come on. Come on. Let's see. It's not sewn that well either. I'm going to edge stitch it. All right, and so now I'm going to, let's see. Do I just want to do a straight up loop? Do I want to do it like this? I really don't like the way this looks. Okay, like this. Something easy. There's nothing like a loop that takes you a minute to use it, right? A nice big loop like that. I'm gonna do something like that. All right, I'm gonna keep it a little bit separate so that it's really easy to access too. I'm all about functionality around here. You know me. Okay, cut this flush, get rid of some of these little threads, and now we're gonna bind the perimeter. We're already almost done. I decided I have some of this fabric, so I was like, oh, I'd hate to use this square and cover up this little kitty leaping. Then I was like, oh, but look. Huh? Yeah. I'm so clever sometimes, you know. And then there's lots of times I'm not, so, you know, you gotta take it when you can get it. All right, let's tack this on here. I never sew with tea there, and it keeps moving, and but this is a pretty small project. And sitting next to my windows has been kind of cold lately. Plus, I'm kind of addicted to peppermint tea. Do you guys like peppermint tea? It's probably because I don't eat a lot of candy. Who eats a lot of candy? I don't know. What are you talking about? All right. Loop could be better. It's a little bit torquey. All right. Incidentally, this piece right here, oh my gosh, I don't really have time to share the whole story with this fabric right here. You remember that person I told you about? Oh, I don't know if I've told you about her. Well, I'm going to tell you about her. Her name is Heidi Kenny, and she's a fabric designer, but she makes this little, she has a little like panel you can buy in Spoonflower, and it's a cat loaf. So literally it's a little cover you put over a loaf of bread, and in the end of it has the little kitty face, and it has little ears that poke. It's really cute, and I had some scraps of it, so I used it in this quilt square. So I'm gonna plan a gift basket to make from that noodle head pattern I'll be sewing, and some of her fabrics are in the canvases. I was just thinking about it. I was like, I have these canvases, and some of hers are in there, and I just love her fabric, so they're really fun. Okay, let's bind. What do we think? Is this the right side? Is this the wrong side? Which side do I want to start on? I think I'm gonna start on this side. Ooh, I don't know, you guys. What do you think? This side to this side? Yeah, I'm gonna go from this side to the other side. All right, here's my tip when you start binding. Just fold the tail back like this, all right? We don't have to sew it in a circle or anything like that. You don't have to know how long this needs to be. So just fold it back like this, lay it down, just like that, all right? Trust me, it's all gonna be great. All right, and then we're gonna sew around. This time we are gonna gently pull the binding, all right? Maintain your 1/4 inch seam. I gotta really make sure I get that edge where I tacked it. I need to get that stitching inside. All right. When I get to these straight areas, I don't need to really pull a whole lot. But we want to pull a little bit around the corners because the corners are going to be a shorter distance and we don't want too much binding to have to ease in or anything. Okay, go around the corner. All right, and now we're approaching the end. I keep just lifting up my presser foot to walk around those corners. That kind of helps relieve the tension, you know. But just always stop needle down when you do that. My machine does that automatically. All right, so now you see this little turn back. We're gonna just lay our binding right on top of that, and we're gonna cut it off. We'll sew up to this turned back edge right here. All right, and then we're just gonna cut it off right there. Boop, just like that. All right, so it looks like that. Sorry, the camera's a little bright, huh? All right, so now I'm going to trim down this edge, make sure it's a nice, even seam allowance amount because I sometimes get a little bit cockeyed on these corners. You know what I mean? And the binding is only so wide, right? So we can't like variable the seam width. We need it to be all the same. Don't do too narrow because you really want it to fill up the binding so it looks nice. Because if there's not enough fabric in there, you'll get all those torque lines, you know. Well, that was a little too narrow there. I'm being a little bit quick. This is pretty thick, so it's kind of hard to cut it accurately. All right, let's look at this side. See how the little piece there, we'll just smooth that out. Make sure there's no threads showing. And now we're just gonna flip it. Oh, if you wanted a label in here, you should put the label in right now. Pop out a few stitches, put your label in right now. I don't really care. All right, so there we go. See now, because we pulled it, it already naturally wants to lay down onto the pot holder. See that? Because we pulled it a little bit, it's like cinching onto there. All right, and so now this little area here where we turned it back, if this is fussy, like if this is really thick or your binding is a little fussy, you know, depending on the fabric you use, start kind of behind there. And just start arranging it. I always fold this one first, the bottom one. You can try and fold them both at the same time, but it's fiddly. And then now I fold this one around it, just like this. And now I kind of go behind here. And now just keep the fold of your binding just past that stitch line we just sewed, just past it. Now, your needle needs to hit this to the right of your stitch line if you don't want your stitching to show off of the binding, right? So think of it logically. If your needle goes in on the top to the right of this stitch line right here, that's this stitch line right here, it'll land on the binding, guaranteed, right? So just think of it that way and feel confident about it. If you want to clip it or pin it, go ahead, but you won't really find that it's 100% necessary since we pulled the binding a tiny bit as we were tacking it on because it wants to kind of turn to the right side now. All right, and make sure that this little guy doesn't flip up like this. And if you want, you could pin it out of the way. I don't have a pin. All right, oh well. All right, so we'll just do this, and you're gonna see me use my awl. I feel like that's the one thing people know me for is using an awl. And I'm just gonna pull this little edge right here, just past that stitch line, and try and keep my needle to the right of the stitches. And we'll see how I do. You know, I'm okay sometimes, but sometimes when it's really thick and I haven't practiced, I have some issues, especially around those rounded corners. They tend to get a little thinner right there. And so when I get there, I kind of pull this pretty hard and pulling it like this and placing that little folded edge on top of that stitch line, I kind of need to pull it like this and hold it there. And that's mainly because we gently pulled it around the corners. I also put my finger in here and I'm pulling towards myself. It's always helpful to know what someone's hands are doing. You know, and my hands are doing a lot right now. And I hold that down with the awl. I just hold it in place. Pins just don't cut it for me sometimes. I find it more flexible to use the awl. All right, I always stop needle down. I'm going to fold this a little bit more than it needs to be folded because it's narrower there. Place that fold down. And now I just hold this fold down where I want it to end up. Let's see how we're doing. I'm cheating. I usually never cheat. I'm usually not allowed to look until I clip my threads. That's my rule. All right, and so right here it starts collapsing in. I push it away like this. Push it away a little bit. Get it to stay where it was folded. All right. Almost done. Quick pot holder. It took me a lot longer to decide on fabrics than to sew this. That's always how it is when you do these scrap projects, man. It takes like so much longer to pick out your fabrics. All right, I think right there I fell off the edge. Okay, I always clip my threads first and then we get to check. Ooh, maybe I'll keep this. Not bad. This is my wrong side. This is my right side. Look at this. This looks so funny on camera. I love it. It's big though. Check out my oven mitt pattern. Sorry, closet core. It's cute. Your fabric's really cute. I think I would make this a lot smaller. Like, I would probably make it 1.5 inches smaller all the way around. You know? Or maybe I would make it, you see how when it folds, like it's not even folding in half like that, right? You can't, your hand does not fold in half. It doesn't fold in half. It's like, this is the part right here, right? And this distance from here to here is shorter than this distance from here to here. And that's why when you fold your pot holder, or you gotta put your hand in here, sorry. That's why this side is shorter, right? So logically, I would make this a lot smaller on this side right here and maybe just leave this as protection. And I would make this that size. Yeah, that's what I would probably do. I'd make this side shorter because it feels like look at that, my hand, like you would want your hand all the way in there, but it's not. It's like right here. So I'm analyzing it, but it's cute and it's still really great and it would protect your hand. It just, you know, it's basic, which is sometimes the best, right? We don't really want to overthink these things. Oh, I love this fabric. I will never not love this fabric. Cool. Well, thanks for joining me. I doubt anyone's making pot holders anymore, but you know, it's always nice to have a really good functional one. So I hope you give this a try. And I'll link the pattern to their blog in the description. You have to be on their newsletter list and just get the password, but that all their resources are free if you're on their newsletter list. And there's actually a lot of really great resources on their site, like jeans fitting and stuff like that. All right, well, I don't know what I'll be doing next, but I hope you're there. We need to write a letter to Santa. What are we going to talk about with Santa today? What are we going to talk about with Santa? Let's put the lucky ears, antlers, horns, lucky horns. Doesn't really sound, oh, I'm stuck on my curtain. I feel like this is live right now. All right, let's have a cocoa kiss. These are growing on me. You know what I want inside this is an almond, something crunchy. Do you like crunchy things in your chocolate? Because for me, that's the key. I really like the texture of crunchiness in my chocolate. All right. Okay, also, I really like some of your Dear Santas in my comments. And man, I feel for you. So let's dedicate this to you guys. Okay, Dear Santa, I hope, or I would like, what's more compelling? Can we help? I know some of you by name in the comments. I think I remember your names right. I think it was Nancy, right? Can we help Nancy and Kira with their Dear Santa? Well, that's a with their Dear Santa letters. I think we could all relate to both of them. I think I might sneeze. Nancy would like everyone in her life to go somewhere far away and not have cell phones so that she can have as much time as she wants to work on the projects that she wants to work on with no ability for them to call her. And she wants them all safe, you know. She would just like to have some quality time with her crafting self, right? And Kira would like more time and space and energy to do the projects that are in front of them right now. And I can feel that really big. Like I need to evaluate what's in my bins and finish them by the end of the year. I was talking with someone in one of the Zooms from the guild today, and her name is Terry. And she is dedicating this whole month to sewing for herself. She's been sewing for her family all year, and this month she isn't sewing for anybody but herself, and she's finishing some projects. She feels like I finally am going to tackle some of these things, and I love this. I'm like, kind of like, this is a good tradition. I like this. I really approve this. So this is dedicated to all you guys and gals, and everyone else who needs time, and energy to craft all the things or have time for themselves. All right? Exo, Saremy, and everyone else. Yeah, we all deserve it, right? It's time to write our selfish letters. All right. Well, I hope you get some chocolate or candy or something cozy to drink, and you get some time to yourself to finish all your projects. And I'll see you probably tomorrow. I can't believe I'm doing this. Okay, we'll see you soon. I don't even remember how I sign off. Oh boy, I'm already low. Yeah, okay, bye.